Hi, I'm Ashley from Sunny Made, and today we are going to go over how to trim half square triangles. If you are joining me on our Beginner Skill Builder Sampler Quilt, we are on week 3 of our first month, and it's tip day. So today we are going to learn how to trim those half square triangles that we learned how to make on our first week. I have a couple of half square triangles here. I'm going to teach you how to trim them 2 different ways. So let's get started. Okay, first thing I want you to know is that you need a cutting mat in order to trim up your half square triangles. You're going to need a rotary cutter. Make sure that your blade is fairly new so it cuts really nicely. You'll also need a straight edge and something that you can trim with. Here I'm using, it's an Omnigrid. It's a 4.5 by 4.5 inch square. Pretty much what you need is something that is either the exact size or slightly bigger than the triangles that you are going to be trimming. So first, I want you to look at, this is our triangle that we just got done sewing. We cut down the middle, our half square triangle. One of the first things we want to do to make sure that this seam is nice and straight down the center is if you pull it back and finger press it right along that seam, this seam is going to be nice and straight. Then you want to iron it. So put it flat, make that seam nice and straight, and iron it. Okay, so here are a couple of squares. Next, we're gonna put our triangle this way, and if you notice, I have a diagonal line here on my square. It needs to go right down the diagonal line of your half square triangle. Also, we also need to know how big we want it. So it needs to be 3.5 by 3.5. If I line it up on this square and I put it almost to the top corner, easily it's going to be 3.5 by 3.5. So first, line it up here, and then you're going to trim down the side and the top, and you have squared up, made a nice square of 2 sides. Then we're going to flip it all the way around. This time we want to make sure that we trim it to the right size. So bottom edge is along that 3.5 inch line, side edge is along that 3.5 inch line. And because we lined it up with the diagonal the first time, your diagonal line should go right up that seam. So then we trim up the side and up the top. So then we have our perfect 3.5 inch square, which is what we're going for right now. Now, if you're going to be trimming a whole bunch of them, one of the tricks you could do is, this is just washi tape. It makes it a little easier. I know I'm doing 3.5 by 3.5, so I'm going to put the washi tape right on my triangle. Washi tape just comes off really easily. You could use masking tape, anything that's easy to put on and easy to take off. You really don't want it to leave any like residue. So there's my 3.5 by 3.5 inch square. Okay, so I know right where I want to line it up. So once again, we're going to take our triangle. We're going to line up
that center line. That's why it's so important you use a square that's made for quilting, is because you want that 45-degree angle that goes right on each of your squares. Flip it around. This time, you're lining it up with the washi tape you just put on. Okay. The diagonal line lines up so nicely there, and you trim both sides. So there's that one. Now, I want to show you another tool that's kind of fun to use. This is called the Clearly Perfect Slotted Trimmer. This one, we actually do the trimming before we open it and iron it. So it just kind of depends on how you want to do it. These ones are for a different project, and they actually need to be 4 inches. So that's why I have this 4 inches, and I'm just gonna show you how you do that. This dotted, so here's the 4 inches. This dotted line goes right along my seam. I hope you can see my seam on there. This vertical line here should be pretty close to where my point is. It doesn't have to be perfect because it does allow me to give it a little trim. So I line it up right on my seam line. It's gonna be 4 inches when I'm done. I hold it down. I go up one side and down the other. And in order to get off my dog wings, my dog ears, they're called dog ears, you're just gonna, that's why it has these cute little slots on the edges here, so that when we go to open it and we finger press it open, oh, it has my things on it, but see, it's gonna be your perfect 4-inch square. So here are 2 different types of tools you can use to do your half square triangles. Either of them work, but the biggest trick that I want you to think about is the more precise you cut your starting squares, the more precise your finished squares are gonna be.
Okay, now that we've learned how to trim our half square triangles, please go and practice. If you have any questions, please drop a comment in the comment section below, or come find me on my blog and I will answer your questions. Hope you guys have a great day, and I will see you next week.